Okay, changed up the setup just a little bit. Just a little bit. The words didn't come out last week. My mental was all over the place, and there was a whole lot going on, and not a lot at the same time. It happens. That's life. Tori and Jonathan, I like to people tell their stories, and this is TJ Talks, the podcast. But amongst all of that chaos, I already had what I had planned on saying last week together. So it just means I left it in the oven a little bit longer. It's a little bit cleaner now. Doesn't hurt. But daydreams empower dreams. I am Tori and Jonathan, and I have been daydreaming my entire life. Have they gotten in the way of my actual work? No. Have they gotten in the way of what I want to do? Yes, but for the better. If I was daydreaming about doing something else in the midst of doing something else, 9 times out of 10, what I was doing did not matter that much to me. Or I was doing the wrong thing at the time. Case in point, while I was at PG in most of my general studies classes, I was daydreaming about my artistic ones. What they put you through, what you want to be doing. 2 different sides of the scale. I was always daydreaming about what I wanted to be doing. Whether at the time it was being a graphic designer at one of my favorite magazines, or being a photographer shooting a cover spread, or leading campaign ad for something that I liked doing at the time, or if it was being a music producer at the time, making beats for XYZ artists, and then blowing up and doing it all over again. Daydreaming about other things I wanted to do. But that's not a bad thing. Daydreams empower dreams. If you're daydreaming about doing XYZ and you're doing ABC, figure out the rest of the alphabet to get to XYZ. That's not a bad thing. And some people say dreaming can take you out of what you're trying to do or what you want to do. I am a firm believer in, if you can dream about something, then why not try and make that your reality? Let's bring this back for one. I just talked about 3 things that I usually used to daydream about while I was working on school, while I was up at PG. 1, graphic design. 2, photography. 3, music production. These are all things that I ended up polishing on my own time and getting better at them, to the point that when I was daydreaming, that was giving me a barometer. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. I've done this. When it comes to graphic design, I've done it enough now, thanks to all of my daydreaming, that I learned, okay, graphic design is a very broad spectrum. I like helping people brand themselves. Niche. Photography is a very broad spectrum. I love capturing people. Niche. Music production is a very broad spectrum. I just like making beats. Niche. Daydreams can help you find your actual dreams. And then once you actually start on the path, you start to figure out your niche. I didn't actually write this down, but since this week I'm making up for two, we're combining the two. Daydreams help you find your real dreams. But then while you're working your dreams, figuring out what you do, the baby steps, the intricacies. I just butchered that. Intricacies of getting there. You then start to figure out, okay, this is my niche. This is what I like to do. Everybody that actually works through the things seem to say this the same way. Being a jack of all trades is great. I've always said it. I used to think it was a bad thing. It's an amazing thing to be a jack of all trades. But when it comes time to monetize what you do, focus on your niche. For instance, when it came to graphic design, didn't realize I'm not the greatest at Photoshop. In all honesty, I don't like Photoshop. I know how to use Photoshop one way, maybe 7 ways. You can use Photoshop 700 ways. I don't like Photoshop. It's too many different ways to skin a cat in there. That's not a bad thing. But if somebody's over your shoulder and only knows one way, your way looks wrong. Problem is, in Photoshop, you can do it 700 different ways. And if somebody only knows the one way and you're not doing it their one way, you're probably not doing it right. Speaking from experience here, I don't like Photoshop. My tool of trade when it came to graphic design was Illustrator. Again, similar to Photoshop, where it's 700 different ways to do it. But I think in Illustrator, there's really only 7 different branches, and then they branch off from there. When it comes down to the tools and how you tackle something, you can bring in an image, start from scratch, or start in Illustrator. It's a little more streamlined, and that's why I fell in love with it. And then InDesign, you do not start your project in InDesign. Don't you dare start your project in InDesign. InDesign is really where you come in when you're finishing. Like if you're doing magazine spreads, you finish in InDesign. You don't start in InDesign. I saw somebody do that one time and I almost wanted to scream. I said, why? You don't start in, okay. I left that project alone, long story short. But still, niches. There is value in the niches. Know what your niche is. If you don't know, figure it out. You figure it out by doing what you love. And then if you worked on your circle, I talked about this really early on in this podcast, your circle will help you tell you your niche. For instance, graphic design, I brand people. Photography, I capture people. And I'm actually switching over to capturing products. That's actually where I'm focusing now. I'm shifting my niche. We'll talk about that another day. And as far as music is concerned, it's always been about beats. I flourished and bloomed to do many other things in music production, but I've cut it down. Now it's just beats. I haven't made one in a couple months, but still, now it's just beats. Niches. Know your niches. Find your niches. And do keep in mind, your niches are your dreams. I, for one, am really big on daydreaming. Daydreaming is what encouraged me to start and follow all the things that I do to this date. Like, I still brand people. I might not sit in front of Photoshop and Illustrator as much as I used to because I don't need to. But the moment I pick up my camera and then I'm capturing them, their product, and their story, that's branding still in my niche. The moment it comes time to give said story some sound, background, that's where the beat making comes in. Branding, still in my niche, and capturing and telling stories. So my story and my dreams might have been all over the place, which most people can tell you. Your dreams you usually don't control. And the moment you start controlling your dreams, you're daydreaming. Even if you're at night, you're still daydreaming. The act of controlling your dreams, I forget the name of it, but the act of controlling your dreams is a valuable tool, I've learned. The moment you get to a point where you're controlling your dreams and getting work done, you are way ahead of the curve. Because A, if you're working in your dream in which you have control of it, and in your dream you have control of all the factors, that means you're in a position where you are in control of the niches that you're playing with, the heights and lows in which you're playing with, which means you also know the way forward. That is amazing, and something that you really can only control in your dreams, because life happens. But once you are in your dream world, you realize, okay, forget what can happen. We're going to focus on what could and what I want. That mind frame is essential for building anything, be it creative or business in general. If you didn't have a dream in the first place, there is zero path for growth. I have a feeling I just rambled on this story. I think I still have 2 things on here. Matter of fact, I'm just going to end. I think I got that one. The last part on my list for this week was defining what dreams mean to me. Daydreams are dreams that you have control over. And if you find yourself daydreaming about something that seems wild to you, keep in mind your daydreams are just your inner you freed. And with that said, I am Torian Jonathan. I like to help people tell their stories. And this has been TJ Talk, the podcast. Hope to talk to y'all next week. Later.